The phone rang and made them both jump. "That'll be Stephen, I hope," said Anna, and went to answer it. Tristan sat and thought how much he liked Anna's company. She came back out a few minutes later. "Yes, it was. He said sorry about tonight, about forgetting to tell me you were coming to dinner, and he says London is hot, airless, and dirty." "Does he enjoy his job, whatever it is?" asked Tristan. "He works for an advertising agency. To be honest, I don't know if he does enjoy it anymore. He used to, but recently something's changed. Maybe he's changed. He was hoping, well, actually, I was hoping, this holiday would give him a chance to have a good think about it all. Perhaps now the decisions will be taken for him. He may come back on Thursday without a job. But I'm sorry, you probably don't want to hear all that. You were just being polite." "No, I wasn't, if you understand me. I'm interested. I like the little I know about Stephen. I enjoyed our fishing trip this morning." Tristan paused and then said, "Maybe it's my turn, to be honest. You see, you and Stephen make me think about myself and my, I don't know what to call her, woman friend, girlfriend, whatever." Anna waited for him to go on. He told her about Jill and him, and the difficulties of continuing a long-distance relationship. He spoke quite openly about it all. Anna couldn't help comparing him with Stephen. Stephen always had such difficulty trying to explain something personal. The death of his father had hit him hard, but he still hadn't really talked about it with her. Only once, about 3 months ago, when she'd found him in the kitchen crying. Then he'd managed to talk about it a bit. Poor darling Stephen. People who only saw his public face just didn't know him. They opened another bottle of wine and carried on talking, about him, about her and Stephen, about the village, and the people who lived there. Finally, Tristan stood up. "It's time I went. Thank you for a really nice evening. You're a good listener." "So are you." "Shall I see you tomorrow?" he asked. "Yes, I was thinking of coming on one of your trips. Where are you going in the morning?" asked Anna. "Out past Skellig and round the rocks." He took a step nearer her. "It's a good trip. The boat leaves at 10. "Fine. I'll be there." Maybe it was the wine, but he seemed to be standing closer. He put his hands on her shoulders and kissed her quite firmly on the lips. "Good night. See you in the morning," he said, and closed the gate behind him. Chapter 8. On Wave Dancer. When Anna woke the next morning, she forgot that Stephen wasn't in bed next to her until she turned over to touch him. She looked at her watch. 8 o'clock. He'd be on his way to the office now, probably caught in traffic. Poor thing. She lay there for a while thinking about him, and wondering how much today would change their lives. "Coffee," she thought, "and I think I'll go and get the newspaper. I can do the crossword before I go on the trip." On her way down to the shop, she started thinking about last night's dinner with Tristan. She wondered if today they'd be as easy with each other as they'd been last night. The woman in the shop said, "Morning. Did you have a nice dinner last night?" "Yes, thank you," said Anna in a surprised voice. The woman continued, "I saw you when I was walking my dog. You can't keep anything secret in this place for long." Anna laughed. I must remember that, she thought. Back home, she tried the crossword, but it was too difficult, so she left it for later. She could see Tristan's boat below with Tristan on board. She noticed there was more movement on the sea today. It wasn't rough, but the boats were moving up and down a little. She went inside to collect her backpack from the cottage and went down to the harbour. Tristan was by the boat, talking to another man. "Morning, Anna," said Tristan. "Everything okay? Oh, this is Gary. He works with me on the boat trips. Anna's staying at Dolphin Cottage," he said to Gary. They smiled at each other. Gary looked at her quite closely, and she wondered if they'd been talking about her when she arrived. "I haven't got a ticket or anything for this trip," said Anna. "Do I need one?" "No," replied Gary. "You pay on the boat. Have you got a jacket or something with you? You might need it today. We were just saying that the sea'll probably be a bit rough on the other side of the island. The water comes over the boat in certain places. Sit near the front on the right side if you don't want to get wet," Tristan added. "All right, thanks." He jumped onto the boat and then turned to help Anna. He held out his hand and took hers very firmly. He kept hold until she had sat down. Other people were now arriving and getting on the boat. Most of them seemed to know Tristan. Perhaps they went on his trips often. Anna recognized one or two who she'd seen on the beach or in the village somewhere. Everybody seemed very well prepared. Jackets, extra sweaters, binoculars, cameras. Ready for a transatlantic expedition, she thought. Then she looked at Tristan and Gary in their shorts and T-shirts and wondered which group had got it right. Tristan started explaining to everyone where they were going and what they might see on the trip. This gave her a good chance to look at him carefully. He told a few funny stories, and the passengers laughed in the right places. Anna found herself thinking how attractive he was, and not just physically. He had an air of confidence about him that she liked. But then he must have felt Anna's eyes on him, because he turned towards her, and she blushed. She could feel her cheeks going red, just like a schoolgirl caught doing something wrong. How embarrassing. As soon as they left the harbour, the sea became much rougher, but nobody seemed to be worried. In fact, it was quite fun trying to move your body with the movement of the boat, a bit like riding a horse, Anna thought. Once or twice, when the boat went into a wave, water came over the side, and again people seemed to think it was all part of the fun. They passed the island and moved on towards the rocks. From Pole Reef, you couldn't really see very much beyond the island, so Anna was surprised at the size of some of the rocks, almost like mini-islands. Tristan took the boat close in and slowed the engine. "There are very often seals around here. In fact, we might see some young ones. The first ones are usually born around this time," he said quietly. "Look," said a man at the back of the boat. "There are two in the water over there." Everybody focused their binoculars where he was pointing. The heads of two adult seals appeared, and then disappeared behind a wave. Someone tried to take a picture. Tristan took the boat in and out of the rocks. They managed to see some seals out of the water, lying on rocks, almost sunbathing, but no young ones. They were about to turn for home when Gary saw something white on the rocks just above the water. It was a very young seal. "Don't make too much noise," said Tristan. "We don't want to frighten it, or worry its mum wherever she is. This is the first one I've seen this year. I guess it's only a few days old." Not many people on the boat had ever seen a young seal before, so they were really pleased. Anna thought how helpless it looked, all by itself on the rock. And as if he knew what she was thinking, Tristan said, "The first few days are dangerous ones for the young. Some of the bigger seabirds attack them. They go for their eyes." The boat was moving up and down quite a lot, and it was difficult to stand. Suddenly, the boat was caught by a bigger wave, and an elderly woman fell sideways. In trying to save herself, she hit her arm on the side. Immediately, people crowded round her and started talking. Are you all right? Here, let's get you up onto a seat. Just sit quietly for a minute. Oh, what a nasty shock. Tristan moved the boat out into deeper water, away from the rocks. He looked at Anna, and his eyes seemed to be asking her, "Could you?" She went over to the woman. "Would you like me to look?" she said. "I'm a nurse." "I'm all right," she said. "Ugh, I think I just hurt my arm, that's all." Anna moved the woman and her husband up to the front of the boat. She looked at the arm, which was quite red and already beginning to get bigger. Very gently she pressed, and the woman made a small sound. "Well, Mrs. Anna began.
Sheila,
the woman said. "Sheila, I don't think you've broken it, but it'd be a good idea to have it x-rayed when we get back, just to make sure." Anna looked up. "Tristan, where's the nearest place for that?" "The cottage hospital in Kingham. It's not far. I'll take you in the car, Mrs. Taylor." Anna found a bandage in the first aid box and tied Mrs. Taylor's arm up. The poor old woman had gone a bit white now and was shaking. Someone passed her a cup of tea. I was right, thought Anna. They came prepared for anything. By the time they reached Polreath, Mrs. Taylor looked better, but her arm was clearly giving her a lot of pain. Fortunately, Tristan's car was near the harbour, and Mr. and Mrs. Taylor got in the back. "Would you like me to come too?" asked Anna. "Please," said Tristan. He looked more worried than anybody. I wonder if he's insured for accidents, she thought. I suppose something like this is not good for his business. The X-ray showed bruising, but the arm wasn't broken. "I'm really sorry, Mrs. Taylor," said Tristan.
"It's not your fault," she replied. "You're not responsible for the sea. I shouldn't have been standing up."
"Well, let's go back home. I'll buy everyone a drink when we get back. I think we all need one," Tristan said. The Taylors didn't want a drink, so Tristan and Anna left them at their hotel. "Your arm will hurt a lot tonight," said Anna, "so take some aspirins before you go to bed. They'll help with the pain." "Thank you for your help," said Mr. Taylor. "We'll probably see you around somewhere in the next day or two." "Poor old thing," said Anna, drinking her beer in the fisherman's arms. "She was lucky today, but I don't think she'll be doing much for the next couple of days. That arm will hurt for a bit." "I was lucky," replied Tristan with a shake of the head. "It's fortunate she was so nice about it. Someone different might have complained and spread the word about. People would soon begin to think I was a bit careless with my passengers, and there are 1 or 2 people in this village who would be quite happy to see me lose business." "Really? Why?" asked Anna. "Oh, jealousy, I suppose," Tristan replied. "It's a small place, Polreath. Feelings get a bit strong sometimes." "Have they got reason to be jealous?" Anna asked, remembering the conversation that she and Stephen had heard in the bar the other day. "Well," he laughed, "I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer that. You should ask them. People might think I've got a good life, what with a boat and 2 cottages." "And maybe a 3rd cottage to come?" Anna added. "Why do you say that?" Tristan asked sharply. "Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have. I was just repeating something we heard about you in here the other day," Anna said, wishing she hadn't asked. "A guy called Jack was saying that you were interested in another cottage in the village." "Ah, Jack. There you are, you see. The stories that spread in a small village." Tristan looked a bit angry. "Well, look, I'm sorry," Anna said quickly. "It's none of my business. Shall we change the subject? I meant to say earlier how much I enjoyed the trip, except for the accidents, of course. You made it interesting for everyone. Thanks." There was a bit of an uncomfortable silence. Tristan stared into his beer and then said, "I don't want another cottage." I was interested in the price because it's more or less the same size as Dolphin Cottage, and I wanted to know how much I might be able to sell that for."
"You want to sell Dolphin Cottage?" said Anna in complete surprise. "Oh, don't! It's too lovely to lose."
"I don't really know whether I want to or not. I might need to get some money. It's got some rather mixed memories for me. Jill, you know. And as you now understand, owning two places can cause bad feeling. Anyway, I've got to go. Believe it or not, I've got another trip to do. A quick 1 hour up the coast." He waited a second or two before continuing. "But I was wondering, if you're not doing anything tonight, can I buy you dinner? To thank you for dinner last night, and for Mrs. Taylor." He looked at her carefully to see what she would say. Would she think he was just being friendly, or more than that? He meant it to be friendly, but he had an awful feeling he wanted more. "Thank you. I'd like that," she said, returning his look. "I thought we could drive to a place in the next village. It'd be a change. Meet in the car park at 8? "Fine. Have a safe trip this afternoon." She ordered a coffee and sat there, wondering what she was doing, and feeling guilty because she hadn't really thought about Stephen all day. Chapter 9. Dinner at Gino's. "Someone's going to buy the company," said Stephen on the phone from London. And then he said something about it being the best thing all round. He sounded quite cheerful, said he would be with her in the morning, and that he missed her. Anna felt, in all honesty, that she couldn't say the same thing back to him. Today had been so full of other things that she hadn't really missed him. So all she said to him was, "It'll be lovely to see you for breakfast," which was true. It would be lovely. Stephen was the most important person in her life. But she didn't say anything about going out with Tristan. She put on a bright red dress that she'd had for years, but which always made her feel great, especially when she had a suntan, and gave her hair a quick brush. She was excited about tonight. It was a great feeling getting ready to go out with another man. It reminded her of how she felt before she met Stephen. She walked slowly up the hill to the car park. "Hey, you look nice," said Anna when she saw Tristan. Instead of his usual shorts and t-shirt, Tristan was wearing trousers and a green short-sleeved shirt. "We're not going anywhere expensive, are we?" she asked. "No, just an Italian restaurant in St. Leven, not far. And you look wonderful," Tristan replied. "Shall we go?" Tristan's car smelt of fish. The whole of the back was full of nets. "Does it smell?" he asked, when he saw Anna's face. "It just seems normal to me." "Well, I'm just glad we're not going far," laughed Anna. "Sorry. Actually, all I can smell is your perfume." "Have you heard from Stephen?" asked Tristan. "Yes, he just rang," replied Anna. "He seemed fine. He said he'd be back tomorrow for breakfast." "Is he driving down overnight, then?" asked Tristan. "Yes, I guess so. He likes night driving." It took about 15 minutes to get to St. Leven. Anna suggested going for a walk round the harbour first. She needed a bit of fresh air after the fishy car. The harbour was bigger than Polreath, and so were the fishing boats. One or two of the men on board said hello to Tristan and gave Anna a quick look. "I get the feeling I'm being noticed," Anna thought. "I wonder if that woman in the shop in Polreath is going to tell me tomorrow what I was doing tonight." "What are you smiling at?" asked Tristan. "I was just thinking how hard it would be to keep anything secret down here," Anna replied. "True. Were you thinking about anything in particular?" he asked, looking at her. "No," she lied. "Let's go and eat. I'm really hungry." Gino's restaurant was away from the sea, in a narrow street. They walked through the restaurant to the garden at the back, where there were a number of tables gathered around a pizza oven. Gino was putting in and taking out the pizzas from the oven with a long wooden thing. "Hello, Tristan. Good to see you. How are you?" said Gino. Tristan and Anna sat at the only free table and ordered 2 pizza margaritas and the house wine. They began talking about Italy, where they had both been, and then the difficulty of living away from your own country. Tristan said it was not the country that was important for him, but simply the place where you were, the town, the village. "And that's why Jill and I can never work as a couple. Neither of us is willing to leave the place where we want to be. We spoke on the phone earlier today and decided to be realistic. We haven't really got a future together. I'm sure we'll try to remain friends. There was a lot between us, and we had good laughs. But everybody says that kind of thing when their relationship breaks up." "I'm sorry it didn't work out for you," said Anna. "Actually, you helped me to take the decision," said Tristan, and looked across at Anna to see what she would do. She was looking directly at him, so he continued, "This is going to sound like a Hollywood movie, but you've woken me up." Tristan reached across the table and took her hand. "I was feeling really sorry for myself, and then you and Stephen arrived." "Yes, me and Stephen," Anna repeated. And, yes, it did sound like a film, she thought, but she wanted him to continue. "What's so special about me and Stephen? You must meet hundreds of visitors every year, and they probably all fall in love with Paul Reith, and half of them with you, too. I don't know why. I just know I wanted to get to know you both better. Maybe you arrived at the right time, I don't know. Anyway, whatever it is, I feel clearer about some things." "I don't," thought Anna. "I feel confused. Why is he holding my hand? Would he be holding Stephen's hand too if he was here?" "But now there's another problem," he went on. "I think we're attracted to one another." Anna pulled her hand away. How could he say that? He'd just been talking about her and Stephen, and now he was saying this. How could he? 5 minutes ago, he'd been talking about breaking up with Jill. That can't have been easy to do. And here he was, saying he was attracted to her. It sounded like throwing off one pair of shoes and trying on a new pair. What was he doing? "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that." "No, you shouldn't," said Anna. "But it's true, isn't it?" Tristan said softly. "Yes." And she picked up her glass to hide her confusion. "But I don't intend to do anything about it. I'm with Stephen, and we're happy, and you've confused me." "Same here," he said. He took hold of her hand again. "I know you're happy with Stephen. I could see it the first day you were here. I just thought it was better to bring everything out into the open. Sometimes if you don't talk about things, they become even more important. Maybe some things are better left unsaid. Stephen's coming back tomorrow, and in 3 weeks I'll have disappeared out of your life." "I don't know what I'm doing anymore," Anna said. "It's not a crime to find someone attractive, is it?" he said. "No, it's not. In fact, it's great in a way. But I've been with Stephen for 10 years, and this is the first time I've been in this situation. I don't know what to do. And by the way, Gino is looking at us. Let's talk about something else, please." And they did. They talked about food, and they slowly relaxed. But all the time Anna was thinking. She did find him attractive, and if there were no Stephen, who knows what might happen. Recently she had felt excluded sometimes by Stephen.
He had seemed to be in a world of his own, so it was wonderful to be the centre of Tristan's attention. Tristan's thoughts were going along similar lines. He didn't want to hurt anybody. Maybe he should have kept his mouth shut. That was his problem. He always had to say what he was thinking, didn't he? It had got him into trouble more than once in the past. Anna was a warm, open, lively woman, and he felt good when he was with her. But as she said, she would be leaving in 3 weeks, so there was no point in letting things go any further. They got up to leave, and Gino came over. "Cheerio, my friend," he said. "And my friend's friend," he said, looking at Anna. "Hope to see you again. Be good." An interesting choice of words, thought Tristan, as they stepped out into the street. "Gosh, Tristan, the smell of fish in your car is quite powerful. We'll have to drive with the windows open," said Anna. Sitting in the car on the way back to Polreath was not very easy, and it wasn't just because of the fishy smell. They were both very conscious of each other sitting close by. Tristan parked the car above the village, and they got out. "Let's just walk for a bit," said Anna. "I don't want to go back to the cottage yet." They took the path along the top of the cliffs. It was dark, but the moon was bright enough so there was no danger of them walking over the edge. In places the path was quite narrow, where it passed between bushes, and Anna walked in front. Being in front made her feel as if she was in charge of the situation. Then she heard something move just ahead, an animal probably, and she stopped suddenly. Tristan walked into the back of her. She jumped and half turned round. They were standing so close. She reached up and touched his face with her finger. He put his arms round her, and they kissed, long and hard. Anna pulled away from him. "So much for not letting things go any further," said Tristan softly. "I think I knew that was going to happen," said Anna. The sense of his body was still with her. "I know this might sound odd, but I needed that." Tristan smiled. "So did I, and I need more." They kissed again, but this time more lightly. It was almost as if a spell had been broken, and a deep and exciting kiss had been enough for the moment. "Anna, I think you're wonderful," he said, trying to keep his voice light. "I wish we were free to do whatever we want, but we're not. At least, I'll still be able to look Stephen in the eye when I see him tomorrow." "I hope I can, too. Do you think we'd better go before anything else happens? We don't need to say anything to Stephen, either of us, do we?" "No. Why should we?" he replied. "Nothing's happened." But they both knew something had. Chapter 10. Stephen's Return. Anna woke up because she felt something on her cheek. She pushed it away. "Ouch! That's my nose!" Stephen cried. She opened her eyes, and there was Stephen bending over her and rubbing his nose where she'd hit it. "Oh, hello, love," said Anna. "You're back. What time is it?" 7. "Sorry to wake you, but you looked so lovely lying there. I'll go and make some coffee and bring it up. It's a beautiful morning." Anna lay there, listening to Stephen downstairs, and remembering the night before. She felt good. She'd had an adventure, and she had escaped. Now Stephen was back, and everything would be back to normal. He sat on the bed drinking coffee, and told her about the agency meeting. Everyone had all agreed in the end that the sale of the company was the best thing. The buyers had been honest about the future, and said there were no guarantees of people keeping their jobs. There would have to be some restructuring, which, according to Stephen, meant a lot of people losing their jobs. "So,
We're going to have a few months without knowing whether I'll be one of the lucky ones, said Stephen. Well, you look very cheerful about it, replied Anna. There's nothing I can do. It's out of my hands. So to hell with it all for the moment. I don't even know if I want to keep the job anyway, Stephen said, as he started to get undressed. I'm going to have a shower, and then maybe have a few hours' sleep. Anna was surprised. Stephen didn't really seem worried about it all. How amazing! Perhaps he is changing, she thought. She decided to get up. She didn't feel like lying in bed waiting for Stephen. It was better to be active. She made another cup of coffee and stood outside listening to the morning sounds. Tristan was on his boat, doing something with a fishing net. Probably one of the smelly ones from the car, she thought. How did she feel about him this morning? Quite relaxed, she thought, although something was making her heart beat faster. Must be the coffee, she said to herself, and went inside to get some breakfast. Did you have a good evening with Tristan? Stephen was sitting at the kitchen table. He stood up and put his arms round Anna. Yes, I did, said Anna, wondering for a moment which evening he was talking about. Yes, it was fun. He's very good to be with, and very open about everything, isn't he? It doesn't seem to worry him that he's only just met us. Anyway, what are you doing? I thought you were going to have a bit of sleep. Changed my mind, replied Stephen. The bed seemed empty, and I don't want to waste the day sleeping. I want to start my holiday again. Do you feel like going surfing later? If we walk over there, you can tell me what you've been doing while I've been away. Anna had already decided that she was going to tell him about last night's dinner. She knew if she didn't, he was sure to hear about it from someone else. Half the population of Polreath and St. Leven, probably. So, as they walked over to the surf beach, she told him all about going on the boat out to the rocks, and the accident, and about Gino's, and even about Tristan and Jill splitting up. But she missed out the walk at the end of the evening. She could feel Stephen looking at her once or twice. Well, you have been busy, he said thoughtfully. She seemed to have been perfectly happy without him. You obviously enjoyed it all. You like Tristan, don't you? Yes. Don't you? She replied. Yes. At least what I know of him, said Stephen slowly. I like the way he lives, and the way he seems to know what makes him happy. That's quite rare. Anna waited. She realized that Stephen hadn't finished. Did he tell you he went to university? He got a degree in civil engineering. He was offered a good job, too, but he didn't take it. He wanted to come back to Polreath instead. He could have been really successful by now, probably a manager with a high salary, but he knew that wasn't really for him. Stephen paused. Now it was Anna's turn to look at him. What are you saying? Asked Anna. Well, nothing really, just that I think he made the right decision, for him, Stephen said. Are you trying to tell me you feel you've made the wrong decision? I always thought you loved the advertising world and life in the city, said Anna. I do. I did. Stephen stopped for a moment. All I'm saying is, I think I've reached a crossroads in my life. I feel it's time for a change of direction. Maybe it's a midlife crisis. I don't know. You're too young for a midlife crisis, replied Anna. Have you got any ideas about what you'd like to do then? One or two, but they're still just ideas, so I don't really want to talk about them yet. I've heard that before, thought Anna. Stephen continued. I need time to think more. Everything's happened so quickly. Not that quickly, actually, she said. You've seemed different the last few weeks. I think this has been coming for a while. You're probably right. But don't push me to say more at the moment, will you? I need time. They walked on in silence,
busy with their own thoughts. Anna wasn't surprised by what Stephen had said. She just hoped he'd talk to her more before taking any big decisions. After all, it affected her life too. The surf beach was busy when they got there. "I'm ready for this," said Stephen. "After the last 48 hours, I need action." They went to the beach shop and hired surfboards. Neither of them felt like having a lesson. They wanted to try it themselves first. They swam out with the boards to just beyond the point where the waves were starting. Then they watched to see what other people did. Timing was the important thing. You had to catch the right wave at exactly the right time. If you missed it, there was nothing to carry you in towards the beach. You had to try again, wait for the next suitable wave. It was fun. They couldn't really do it well, but they enjoyed trying. Stephen did manage to stand up on his board for about 10 seconds, but Anna was perfectly happy lying down on the board, surfing in on her stomach. "I've had enough!" shouted Anna. "I'm giving up for the moment!" She lay on the sand and let the sun warm her. Then she sat up to watch Stephen. He was doing quite well, but then he often did do well at sport. She could see he wanted to be good at this. "I enjoyed that," said Stephen, lying down on the beach beside her. "When you get it right, it's a great feeling." Turning over, he put his cold, wet hands on Anna's stomach. "Oh, you horror! Your hands are freezing!" He laughed and pulled her to her feet. "Time for lunch. I could eat a horse." They carried their surfboards to the open-air cafe and parked them next to some others. They had burgers and French fries with lots of ketchup and enjoyed every mouthful of it. "God, that was wonderful. Just what I needed," said Stephen. "Okay, what do you want to do now, then? I'd quite like to go back to the cottage. My sleepless night is catching up with me. I'm beginning to feel really tired." "That's fine with me. I'm very happy sitting in the front garden watching the world. I've got yesterday's crossword to finish, too." Chapter 11. Back to Normal. Stephen went upstairs for a rest when they got home. He asked Anna to wake him in a couple of hours. She took her coffee, newspaper, book, and suntan cream into the garden and made herself comfortable. The sun felt good on her skin. She felt totally happy and couldn't imagine ever wanting anything more. It'd probably be better, she thought, if we didn't see Tristan today. Just give me time to get myself in balance again. It seems as if that man is having an interesting effect on both Stephen and me. I think Stephen knows I'm attracted to him, and Stephen obviously likes him too.